Good morning, everybody. I hope this finds you warm and well. So, today's talk is about letting things go. And this is a process that actually is an ongoing thing. It's something that we do need to revisit from time to time in our life, in our business. And it's something that I've been working on myself over the last couple of years, really. And I absolutely understand the challenges around doing that, about letting some aspects of our business change or letting go of them entirely. When we do something that we really love, it's so easy to get really excited about lots of different aspects. And we might feel that we want to serve everybody or make the most of all the extra training that we've done. And so what we need to do from time to time is have a review of our business, what we're offering, what our systems are, particularly if you are getting to a point where you are regularly feeling tired, overwhelmed, always playing catch up, a bit behind on your admin, rushing to classes, feeling like there's more going on than you can manage. Those are all really good signs that you're doing too much. And it can feel counterintuitive when you're trying to build a business, you want to earn a bit more money, to start cutting back and do less. But the danger of trying to be all things to all people and do all the things is that we don't have enough energy in any one place to make that really thrive. And we just get exhausted and frazzled. And that's not the right energy to kind of attract people in and make our classes really work for us. Oh, hi, Maz. Thank you for joining me live. Lovely to see you. So I think there's a few different areas that we can look at today. So I think the first thing is to look at what is it we're offering our clients? What is it we're putting out in the world and saying, hey, I do this. And this is something that I have definitely narrowed down a little bit because I needed to. So maybe have a look at how many classes are you running and how many different types of classes you're offering and at how many different venues. Because all of these are things that individually need promoting and marketing. And this is where we can start to struggle with maybe doing 12 classes a week, but maybe there's only, 4 or 5 people in them and they're not each generating enough income. So looking at your burden of marketing, if you think that each class you run needs its own marketing, even if it's a similar style, for example, some people will only be in the market for an evening class. They've got a 9 to 5 job. They only want evening classes. So that's a different kind of marketing than maybe your daytime ones or your weekend ones or ones that maybe, aimed at mums with small children. And then when you add in specialities, like if you do a pregnancy class or a postnatal class, if you're doing a yoga for cancer class, that again is a different market. So when we look at all of those things, we're giving ourselves a lot of work there of trying to reach all these different markets. And then you may also offer one-to-ones, which I always think is a good idea to offer. They can pay very well, and they can also be very rewarding to work in that very focused way of helping somebody with something specific. You may run retreats, workshops. Again, all of that needs marketing and promotion. So you can see how quickly that mushrooms. You're not just saying, hey, I'm a yoga teacher, here's my list of my classes. You can do that, but it's probably not going to be as effective as having really targeted marketing for each of your classes, because you're trying to potentially reach different markets of people. So that would be the first thing, is look at, is there even one class that is regularly not very well attended? Maybe it's a lot of travel and hassle for you. Do you have to take tons of equipment, spend ages setting up the room, getting there early to put the heating on because it's cold this time of year? Have a look at your classes, and you may find some of them are the ones that flow quite easily. You feel excited about doing them, has the potential to be a high earning class. And you may find there's other classes that feel a bit more hassle than they're worth. So if you're offering a lot of classes, it might be worth maybe dropping one or two and really focus on the others and get them busier. So you then are earning more for doing less work. If there's more people in, say, 5 classes, then, or even if it's the same number accumulative in 5 classes as that number spread between 10 classes, you're doing half the work for the same money. And that gives you time and energy to do other things, like maybe promoting your retreat or offering one-to-ones. So we want to have a look at that first, see, is there maybe a class you can let go of? The other thing is thinking about, what's your general message out there about who you want to work with? Do you have a niche? Do you have a speciality? What is it you want to be known for? And can you simplify your message in some way and maybe simplify your classes? So again, it might be that you're offering lots of different specialist classes, and that might start to get a bit confusing for people. So for example, although I am trained in pregnancy yoga and I used to do pregnancy yoga classes, I don't do them anymore because my speciality is in yoga for cancer. I really focus on that. But if a pregnant woman got in touch and wanted one-to-one classes with me, very happy to do it. And I'm trained to do that. So it's not that I don't do it at all, but I let go of running a group pregnancy class because it's a lot of work to get it working. You need new people all the time, because you don't get someone in your pregnancy class for 10 years because they're there usually for 6 months and then they have their baby and they move on to something else. So it's looking at those kind of things and just saying, can you simplify? Is there something you can let go of to just give you more time and energy and headspace to focus more in one direction? So that's the first area. And you might already have that kind of gut feeling, is like, oh yeah, I know which one is kind of my niggly class. And then you can hopefully grow the others and make them much more, viable for you and sustainable. Then the next thing to think about are our systems, our ways of doing things. And it's particularly if you've been in in practice for a long time. You may have set up your systems years ago and they were the right thing at the time, but now things have moved on and you might find that your admin is unnecessarily time consuming and onerous. So it's maybe looking at, is there a way of doing something that you can let go of? So it might, for example, be that people used to hand fill in your, say, new student form. You got your health questionnaire. And if you've been in practice as long as me, then, you know, when I first qualified, yes, people obviously were emailing, but a lot of people sort of felt more comfortable with a pen and paper. Now what I have is an online form that I've made that automatically goes out with a booking. There's a link to the form they can fill in online, submit, and it comes back to my account. So when somebody books, all of that's automated, rather than what I used to do is book somebody in manually, write them an email with a confirmation and attach a form for them to fill in, and then like for them to print out, fill in by hand, and then I'd go through it with them before our first session. So, you know, that kind of thing, when I first started doing it, was quite high tech to send a form by email compared to putting it in the post or meeting in person. But 20 years later, things have changed, technology has changed. So are there things that you're doing that could be much simpler and save you a lot of time, maybe could be automated? Have you got, for example, ways that people can sign up to your mailing list or book onto your class, or all of these things without necessarily having to phone you or email you or for you to do things manually? So is there a way of simplifying, streamlining your processes so that these things, you can just let go of a whole bunch of admin that you don't have to do anymore? So that's really worth looking at. And you might also then want to look at upgrading some systems that you have. So for example, I had the free version of Canva for a long time. Definitely recommend it. There's loads of things that you can do on there. But last year I upgraded to a paid version and it saved me a lot of time, because what I can do is make a post and schedule it straight to my social media from there without having to download it, save it on my computer, have different scheduling software, transfer it in. Like, it cut out a lot of steps. And for me, it's definitely been worth the money. And there might be other things that you have where you have a free version, but you might reach a point where it's worth the investment in upgrading to get the features that save you a lot of time, a lot of energy. You know, and the other thing with Canva, for example, is the paid version gives you a massive library of images, whereas before I would, if I couldn't find what I wanted in the free version, then I'd maybe try and take my own photos and upload them and use them, or look around for other free photos that I could use. So again, all of that is much simpler, much slicker, and easier for me to use. So that's something to look at. And also, it's worth looking at our beliefs as well. So there are times where I've notice, and this is where it can be good to talk to other people, find out their ways of doing things, maybe having a business coach or a mentor. That certainly helped me uncover beliefs I had or things that I just felt were self-evident. And then they get challenged, and it's like, well, why are you doing it like that? Why do you think that's necessary? So one of them for me was around all of my content creation. So I had this belief that I always had to make new content. So every Facebook post, Instagram post had to be something new, had to be like a really amazing caption that would be inspiring for people, that every time I wanted to share a blog, I had to write a new one. And actually, it was really useful to have that challenged, because actually, people don't remember things at one read. And if you have a very useful message to share, often we need to read things several times for it to sink in. I know I definitely do. And it's quite nice to have other people's content shared again. It's like, oh, yes, I remember this, but I only remember a tiny bit of it. I'm really glad they've reposted this video or this blog because I remember being inspired by it at the time, and then you sort of forget. So actually that was something, it took me a little while to let go of, because there were all other beliefs attached to that, you know, that idea that reusing content was somehow cheating, that people would judge me for being lazy because I'd reposted something that I'd done before. You know, there were all these other fears and beliefs and ideas that, you know, were connected with things from much earlier in my life. And these things, they do show up in our business. You know, we act according to our thoughts and our beliefs, and often our thoughts and our beliefs can come from something very early in our lives. So it's really worth being challenged on some things and spending some time investigating if there's something that we're doing that feels difficult and we're not able to change it, or we don't feel able to change it. Look at the belief, like, what is it that might be stopping you? So for me, like, all my marketing, social media was just soul sucking, because I felt I had to do everything new and everything had to be of such a ridiculous quality that it was having a really big impact, because the belief was there that if I didn't do that, my business wouldn't succeed. So I felt like I had to, even though I didn't want to, or it was too much for me. And it was starting to make me feel that overall, you know, I was doomed. I'm not the right kind of person to have a thriving business. And, you know, all of these thoughts get tied in and sort of can make us feel like we're never going to succeed. And if we can find some of those thoughts that are blocking us and go, it doesn't have to be like that. And to have the reassurance for me that very successful people are always recycling their content, because if you make something good, don't waste it by just sharing it once and then it disappears. If it's good, it's worth reposting. If it's valuable, people need to hear it more than once. You can keep reposting things. And it was life-changing for me. So just sometimes that one little thought, idea, belief that you can let go of can be a massive thing. So definitely, if you're feeling really stuck somewhere in some part of your business, look at, is it possible just to technically find a different way of doing it. If you're manually doing a lot of admin, maybe ask for support and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. Is there a technological solution to this? Is there a system, a program, a service I can use that automates all of this? So absolutely ask for help, investigate what's possible. If that is not solving your problem, if there's something else that's making you feel like, no, but I have to do it like this, I would spend some time challenging that and say, why do I think it has to be done this way? Because that's where we can potentially be self-sabotaging. So, and that kind of links in a little bit with the last section I wanted to look at today in terms of letting things go, is have a review of your marketing program, plan, system, whatever it is that you're doing, and see what's working for you and what isn't. And again, we might have the belief that we need to do all the things in order for our marketing to be successful. So you might feel that you need to be writing blogs and making videos and starting a podcast and doing a million things and posting on every social media platform. I would suggest that unless you have a huge marketing team that can do all of that for you, you need to pick, say, 1 or 2 platforms to really focus on and look at techniques that work for you. I think when we try and do all the things, again, it just becomes onerous, and it can often, not only does it suck time and energy, most people don't enjoy that. I think as yoga teachers, if we loved social media and marketing so much that we wanted to spend all day, every day doing it, we would be a marketing expert. That's what our career would be. But generally, as yoga teachers, most teachers I speak to don't love marketing. It doesn't kind of set them on fire the way the idea of, say, teaching people, running a retreat, that's the thing that gets us going. So what we need to look at is, are we doing enough? Obviously, but sometimes with marketing, more is not always better. So it's really useful to find out, where do your students come from? Where do your one-to-one clients come from? How are they finding you? And that might be the thing that you really focus on. So if they mostly find you through your website and not through social media, then you can ease up on the social media. I wouldn't say don't do it at all, but put more of your energy into the SEO on your website and see if you can come higher up in the rankings. Focus more on the content on your website. So find out how people find you. And it might be word of mouth. It might be through local businesses, in which case, build your relationships with them rather than spending hours and hours trying to make a perfect Instagram post if people are not really booking classes with you through that. So finding out where it's worth investing your time and energy, and then thinking of the things that you really enjoy doing that come easily to you. So for me, I often feel quite inspired to write. So when I get an idea or a thought, and that is kind of like really alive for me, I can write a blog post in half an hour or an hour. Like it can come quite easily when I go, that's the thing that I want to talk about, and then off I go with it. And sometimes I have to edit down because it ends up too long. other people, writing for them is just like, oh God, it's painful and it's slow, in which case there's no obligation to have a blog. The thing I found I really struggled with, which I started doing and I thought I should do, were reels on Instagram, like giving some little teaching tips. But I found it so time consuming and stressful. I'm not technically good with Instagram and it would never go the way I wanted. And it just became a bit of a nightmare and something that I dreaded doing. And again, you know, my coach said, why are you doing that? It's like, oh, well, because people will want to have examples of teaching and I want to share what I know. And she said, well, there's other ways of sharing what you know. You don't have to do it that way. And just because other people have a large following on Instagram and that all they do is reels doesn't mean that that's the right strategy for me. So again, you know, giving myself permission to never have to do a reel again was a little yay. So I want to kind of share that with you, that if there's something that just sucks your time and energy and you hate doing it, and it's not necessarily even bringing you any business, just don't do it. You don't have to. You're allowed not to. I think there's no right or wrong way of doing social media per se or marketing per se. I think choose the things that work for you, that that could be fun or enjoyable, and focus on those things. All marketing is just sharing your message with people. It's letting people know that you're there. These are the sorts of people that you want to work with, and this is what's available. So there's nothing sort of sleazy or underhand or greedy about marketing. It's just letting people know that there's a service available that might be good for them. So we want to help as many people as possible with our yoga, and we can only help people if they can find us. So, you know, when you think of marketing that way, it can be a little bit simpler. So, you know, and again, it goes back to the first thing we were talking about of what classes are you offering? Who are the people that you want to work for? Can you simplify that a little bit? And then we can simplify our message, and then it's easier perhaps for people to find us. So with our marketing, I'd say just choose one or two social media channels. Some people don't do any and their classes are busy. So if you hate social media altogether, don't do it. Focus on your website, focus on maybe other business relations where you get referrals, focus on the things that work for you. Do the things you enjoy doing, and then just be consistent with it, so that, because people forget. So if you want to send a newsletter, make sure you do it every month or every fortnight. If you do want to be on social media, do something regular. Doesn't have to be every day, but, you know, twice a week at least can be just this regular contact with people. If you want to have a blog, maybe try and write one every month. Whatever it is that you're doing, be consistent, but narrow it down, choose the things that you want to do, and focus on those and let other things go. And hopefully life will be more fun and a bit lighter, and you'll have a bit more time and space. And just, I guess, as some final thoughts, you know, if we keep doing the same thing that we've always done, we will continue to get the same results we've always had. So if we want to change the results that we get, so if we want more time and energy, if we want to, maintain our income, but without killing ourselves with doing all the things. Something needs to change. We need to let go of something. These things don't happen by magic or just by wishing them to be true. We need to actually take some action to change something. And often the action we need to take is pruning. When we want to improve something, it doesn't mean that that always means we need to do more things or work harder or longer. Sometimes what we need to do is have real skillful choosing and refining and prune out the stuff that is not working for us, that's just taking time and energy, and really focus on nurturing the things that we've chosen. And that letting go of something doesn't mean that we failed. I don't feel like I'm a failed pregnancy yoga teacher because I no longer offer that as a group class. It was a conscious choice to reduce the number of different things that I was offering, to really focus more in one direction and really have that thrive, rather than spreading myself too thin. And I know I still have a lot more work to do in narrowing down all the different things that I do, but already I've seen the difference. So again, just as if at the back of your mind somewhere there is a feeling that if you stop doing something, you failed, or you're letting people down, it's not true. We're allowed to choose. And if you are planning to close a class, give people plenty of notice, let them know all the other classes that you're doing, or maybe refer them to another class if there's not something suitable for them. And people will find something. We don't need to hang on to something to, serve, say, the 2 or 3 people who are regulars. And I know that feeling of guilt of closing a service down that's not really viable as a business. As long as you give them other alternatives, people are understanding. So we're allowed to do that. And really, we need to acknowledge where we're at now, what our current needs, desires, ambitions, and goals are. Sometimes we let go of things because we've just moved on. Again, I used to do mum and baby classes, and I really loved doing that when my daughter was little, because I was very close to being in that space, and now she's approaching secondary school. And as much as I think mum and baby yoga is a wonderful thing, and, the more mums that do it, the better, I don't feel like I want to teach that now. My life has moved on. And again, although I've done training in it, it's not where my big passion is. So again, that's something I've let go of as a group class. But that knowledge is still there, that, I'm happy to offer support one-to-one. I currently have a client coming one-to-one for her cancer, but she also has a baby who is about 9 months old. So it's a combination. So I'm really grateful for the fact that I've done pregnancy and postnatal training, because this is really useful for this client. But she's come to me as somebody with a cancer diagnosis, and that was the thing that brought her in. So these skills, we're not wasting them if we stop offering those specialist classes. Often those skills are transferable to other people. Those practices can be useful in other contexts. So it's not a waste of our training to say, actually, I don't want to do this specialist class, but I'm still going to use some of those asana practices, breathing practices, relaxation, visualization, all of those things, you can still use them in other classes. So whatever thoughts or beliefs that might make you feel that you have to continue something, even though your heart is not really in it, again, spend a little bit of time challenging yourself and give yourself permission. We're allowed to choose the classes that we teach, the people that we work with. There's enough teachers out there to serve people. We don't have to be all things to all people all the time. And we serve people better when we focus and choose, our niche, our direction, the way that we want to teach. And those people who come to us are better served when we're not spread thin and frazzled, and that our focus, our energy, our attention, our reading outside of class, like all of that can just be focused more in one direction. So hopefully that's given you some really practical things that you can review over this coming month and to maybe implement in January. Start the new year with a few tweaks. Give yourself more time and space to enjoy your life and enjoy your teaching that bit more. So if this has resonated with you, if there's something that you feel inspired to change, then please do share in the comments. It's always lovely to hear how people have absorbed information and made some changes, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Have a lovely rest of your week.